Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, out with the old and in with the new.
I'm sticking with the new and denying the old ever happened. All right, let's take a look at the SRBB headlines.
Pat O'Connor, minor league baseball president, is retiring after the 2020 season. O'Connor leaves after 28 years in the minors, with the last 13 years as president.
It was announced that the 2020 National Finals Rodeo will be held at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. It's the first non-baseball event at the venue. And perhaps the NFR will be better suited for the GLF than baseball.
Congratulations to Jocelyn Jock Peterson and his wife Kelsey on the birth of their son, Jocelyn Jr. He joins big sister Poppy.
U.S. Open Tennis crowned their 2020 champions. Naomi Osaka, number 3 in the world, defeated number 14 Victoria Azarenka in 3 sets. It took 5 sets for Dominic Thiem, number 3 in the men's rankings, to get past number 7, Alexander Zverev. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
On September 9th, MLB honored Roberto Clemente as they have the previous 17 seasons. Roberto Clemente, the Great One, was celebrated around baseball with all players wearing a number 21 patch on their sleeves. His team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, all wore his number 21, and Puerto Rican players were allowed to wear 21 to signify their connection to Clemente. Roberto was born on August 18, 1934. He made his major league debut with the Pirates on April 17, 1955 versus the Brooklyn Dodgers. Constantly involved in charity work off the field and during the off-season in Latin America and the Caribbean, it was in these endeavors, on his way to assist earthquake victims in Nicaragua, his plane crashed, killing all on board on December 31, 1972. During his 18-year career, he had a .317 batting average, 3,000 hits, and 240 home runs. He was a 15-time All-Star, National League and World Series MVP, as well as a 4-time batting champion. He was inducted posthumously into the Hall of Fame, the 5-year waiting period being waived, and a 6-month deceased criteria being put in place. In addition to his induction in 1973, the Pirates retired his number, and the MLB changed the Commissioner's Award to the Roberto Clemente Award. The award is given to the player who best exemplifies the game, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to the team, all things connected to and ensuring the legacy of Roberto Clemente.
You're not going to believe this. There's only 2 weeks left in this grinding, long, crazy season of 60 games. Only 2 weeks. And with that, we should probably look at the playoffs again, especially now that they're talking about the bubble for the playoffs, which I've been reading a lot of different spots where a lot of these players are not digging the idea of the bubble. I know the Twins players are all saying, hey, we did exactly what we were supposed to do, and nobody from our team tested positive at any point. So why are we being punished? So that's a good question. Are they being punished? Does it really matter if they travel a little bit more? Maybe they should just do the bubble for maybe the championship series and the World Series. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the bubble idea for the division series, championship series, and obviously for the World Series really comes down to they don't have a lot of time. And if for some reason there was someone that tested positive, and they could be positive, or maybe it was a false positive, it throws everything out of whack, and then they're postponing games. So I think the bubble actually makes sense in this case. The NBA has done it successfully. The NHL is doing it successfully. So for the championship, for the playoffs, it makes more sense to me that they would do a bubble. And I know the Dodgers have been complaining or about the same thing, like the Twins. We did everything we were supposed to do. Nobody on our team has tested positive. We've done all the protocols, even above and beyond on some of the protocols, and they want their families to be able to join them, which I still think is silly, just because the families aren't going to be able to go to the games as of right now. They're going to have to stay in a hotel room. Most of the guys have young kids. You don't want to have young kids in a hotel room. It's not fun. I've been there. And it's just like, come on, guys, let's play and see how it comes out and not worry about the exterior stuff. So that's my take on the whole bubble.
I don't disagree. In fact, that's the one thing that got me out of all of it, was that was the first thing they all hollered about. Well, our families can't come. Do you want to play in the playoffs? If you don't want to play, opt out.
Right. That was the whole thing too with me is, I get you want to be with your families. And I know that during the season when they're playing at home, they're at home, but it's the playoffs. You're going towards a world championship. So, where's your focus? And to me, if I was in that situation, probably as a wife, and I would, and with little kids or kids in general, they get bored. So, and also wouldn't they have to follow the MLB protocols and being able to go out of the hotel? And you put yourself at risk too, because if the families are allowed to go out and eat or whatever the situation is, then that just seems more risky to me.
It seems more stressful.
And stressful. Yeah,
because you've
that
got
too.
Everybody has to be, even if you have a couple of rooms, like you said, the kids have to be locked down in the room all the time. And whether they play video games, whether they watch TV, eventually they're going to want to run around. They're going to want to do something, release some energy, go outside, something. That part of it, I don't understand. From the player's perspective, I know they're looking at it and saying, but we want to do this. But what's a little bit of time away? It's just an extended road trip. And some of them are like, well, but we got to move. We got to set up things for off season. The way they want us to do things doesn't work. They're just complaining and whining. Think about this. Less travel. You're in one place for a short amount of time, and the games can be played. There doesn't need to be any travel days until you get to the World Series, and all that will be American League teams coming from California to go. So here's the way it sets up, just to give you an idea. So what we'll call the wild card series, which is the first round, the top 8 teams from each league, the American and the National, will play each other at the higher seeds. So the top 4 teams will play the bottom 4 teams at home. And then those teams will go, and the NLDS, the division series for the National League, will be held at Globe Life Field and Minute Maid Field in Arlington and Houston, respectively. And then the American League Division Series will be at either Dodger Stadium or Petco Field in San Diego. The NLCS is in Arlington at Globe Life Field. ALCS will be in San Diego. And then the World Series will be at Globe Life Field. The only issue I have with that is whoever plays at Globe Life Field kind of has a home field advantage.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I was looking over the proposed locations. I think this is pretty much a done deal. They just haven't come out and said, because of those other little things that have to be
right. The players have to vote on it as well.
Right. But yeah, if you are playing at the Grill in Arlington, then yeah, you get that home field advantage, which could be good because that is a wonky park. And the more you play, maybe the more you figure it out.
I think that the only reason you're fine with that is that you are thinking the Dodgers are going all the way. And that means that they might play all their games at Globe Life. Thus, they'll figure it out.
Maybe, but you might be surprised because
I
Aren't
rarely am surprised.
we?
All right. So we figured we'd update our playoff predictions from last time, episode 20, if you want to go back and hear the original ones. And so just over a month ago, we did this. And now it's time to update the SRBB playoff predictions. Now I have our old predictions standing by, so we can look and see how that works out.
As do I.
All right, let's take a look at your choices for the American League, the top 8 in the American League as of today.
I have the Rays, the White Sox, the A's, the Twins, the Blue Jays. I'm going to throw in the Mariners,
Oh,
the Yankees, and the Indians.
okay. If the season ended this last weekend, the White Sox, the Rays, the A's, the Twins, the Blue Jays, the Asterix, the Yankees, and the Indians all make it in. So not too far off. You have the Asterix dropping out, the Mariners coming in, and a little bit of a change in the way the seedings are
Yes.
compared to what would happen based on actual numbers right now.
Right.
I believe there'll be a couple of changes as well, but I think the Twins are going to retake the lead, and they're going to be the number 1 seed, followed by the A's, then the Rays, the White Sox, the Blue Jays, the Asterix, the Indians, and the Yankees. How about your National League picks? Let's go real quick to what would happen if the season ended on Sunday. It would be 1 through 8, Dodgers, Braves, Cubs, Padres, Marlins, Cardinals, Phillies, and then the Giants.
So for my National League picks, I have the Padres, the Braves, and the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Marlins, the Cardinals, the Phillies, and the Giants.
So you see the Padres, they've been on a hot streak as of the weekend, 7 games in a row.
As much as it pained me to write that down, I think there's something there. And just because I watch the Dodgers a lot, I think it's a good possibility that could happen.
I would say the same thing. I'm not quite sure yet, but that is one thing with the Dodgers, is just because they've had the best record pretty much throughout the season. Last year, they had best record in baseball. They didn't make it out of the first round. And with this 3-game set, even though they're playing at home, that's no guarantee they're going to win. But with the 3 games, it means pitching heavy teams will have an advantage. As they always say, all the experts anyway, unlike the regular season, when you get to playoffs, you're usually only going to face great pitching.
Usually, yes, that's the plan.
So with my NL picks, the Dodgers are still the number 1 out of the National League, followed by the Cubs, the Braves, then the Padres, the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Marlins. And then after some consideration, I went back and forth quite a bit between the Giants, the Rockies, and the Reds, and looking at what their last 2 weeks look like. None of them have a real simple path to the playoffs, but I went ahead and stayed with the Giants. They just seem to be playing well right now, and I can see with the teams they're playing that they could continue that on. So I'll finish up with the Giants.
All right.
So out of that, who's going to the ALDS?
So for the American League, I have the Rays versus the Twins and the White Sox versus the A's. And in the NLDS, I have the Padres versus the Dodgers and the Braves versus the Cubs.
In the ALDS, I went Twins versus Indians, and then the Rays versus the White Sox, with the Twins and the White Sox moving forward. So an all-central battle for the ALCS. And then with the NLDS, it's the Dodgers versus the Cardinals, Cubs versus the Padres, with the Dodgers and the Padres meeting up for the NLCS.
I have for the ALCS, I have the Twins and the White Sox. And in the NLCS, I have the Padres versus the Cubs.
Oh, wow. So, all right. So who's going to the World Series out of your picks?
I have the White Sox versus the Padres, with the White Sox being crowned World Series champions.
I have the exact same matchup.
Really?
Yeah, I went with the White Sox versus the Padres. When you think about it, they're the two younger teams.
Yes.
They're both exciting to watch, unless, of course, they're playing your favorite team, which in my case isn't going to happen. But you have to deal with the Padres. Actually, I will. The Angels and the Padres will be playing next week, I think. Would be an exciting World Series based on what we've seen through the season. I went the other direction, though, and I think that Slam Diego is going to take it to the White Sox Bombers. It'll be a really fun, interesting World Series. But I think for this season, that's it. The question is, does the World Series really matter to the magnitude that it has in the past?
I don't think so. I had thought about that, and I thought, of course, everybody wants their team to win, and they want their team to go as far as they can. And the Dodgers have had heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, and everybody, it's been, 1988 was the last time. But then you have this weird season, and is it the World Championship? Is it the World Series? Or is it the COVID World Series? Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, in 60 games, you did a good job. Is it going to mean as much? Sure, to the team that wins it. But for me, if the Dodgers don't win, I'll be okay.
Do you think the players think, other than maybe if you win it all, if you don't make it, obviously it's always real easy if your team doesn't even make the playoffs to say, who cares? It was only an exhibition season anyway. But is it for the teams that make the playoffs, unless you make it to the World Series, are you going to come off going, who cares? It's a pandemic championship. It's not a real.
No, I would hope that any player that's playing would look at it as what it is, which is a championship. Even with the Dodgers, I have the Dodgers in my picks. I still want them to go out and play to win, not just we made it. Okay. I still want them to do well, but as a fan, I'm okay if they don't make it to the World Series this year. Now, next year, hopefully we have a full season. That's a different story.
Right. So you're for the bubble and for the White Sox winning the World Series or the pandemic series. Now, who was it you picked last time for the World Series?
Last time I had the Yankees and the Dodgers, which is classic World Series. But in hindsight, this is not a classic season. So, and the Yankees have fallen off. So that was really, I think on that pick was really going out on a limb there. But at the time, a month ago, if you look where they were.
No, we had been talking about them and the Dodgers as being the two teams that were tearing up. The Dodgers have continued overall. They've been, even with the issues that they've been having recently, it's not been as bad as the Yankees have had.
Right. I think too, when you look at this season, we constantly talk about the Central. So those teams really will factor in to all the playoffs in general, because especially the AL Central, they've been a lot of fun to watch because they just keep, every day you don't know who's number one, they're just 1, 2, 3 and who's going to be in those spots. So I think that's been fun to watch this season too, is those teams that maybe, the Twins especially last year made it into the playoffs, but the other teams that you're not always really paying attention to because you're focused on your team. And the White Sox, like you said, they're a young team. They made some pickups and they've been a lot of fun to watch. And they're just having fun playing baseball. And Cleveland has been interesting too with all of their drama. Its pitching staff has been really good.
That's been the one thing that's carried them through. And I think that's the thing that kind of threw off how things might work out with the playoffs, because in the NL West, you've really only had two teams that took off and ran with it, the Dodgers and the Padres. The Giants have been surging as of late, but when we started off, we had it where we thought there'd be 4 teams out of the West, and then the Rockies have faded off.
Right. Yeah, they have really dropped off.
Central and the East, that they were going to just beat up each other, and everybody's really close together. They're, like you said about the Central, the AL Central, it's all really tight. So we didn't know. And was that going to take a toll on any of these teams? I think that it's having a positive effect on a lot of these teams because they're getting stronger. They're overcoming things that teams that didn't have the issue. The Oakland A's have been hit with some issues lately. That's a team that thought was going to run away with it. The Yankees, also injury issues. And then with that, guys being out, not playing up to what they need or what they were playing. It'll be interesting to see how it all ends in 2 weeks. I think it's going to be pretty close to what it's at right now. The bottom may move around a little bit. I don't see the top too much. Like you had said on here, Dodgers Padres may swap depending on what happens in their series this week. Could very well change that. Could go back and forth. Either one of them could go on a tear, or the Padres could continue their tear, or the Dodgers could go on one and the Padres could fall apart. We'll see. The Dodgers are having a lot of issues, especially in the bullpen. And, well, actually, they're having issues across the board.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Dodgers started a series in Arizona, 3-game series. The Diamondbacks are in last place in the division. And going in, you'd think this should be a piece of cake for the Dodgers, but it wasn't. First game, they won 10-9, ends innings. Buehler only went 2 2/3 innings. He had 4 hits, 5 runs, 2 earned runs, no walks, but 2 strikeouts and 2 home runs. So he retired the first 7 batters he faced, and he was throwing triple-digit fastballs, but then he lost location. He gave up home runs to Dalton Varsho and Cole Calhoun, and he's now back on the IL with a right index finger blister again. So now he is Rich Hill Jr. is what I'm calling him.
I was going to say, we should have known once he got the blister that there was probably going to be a follow-up to that. Based on some other things that happened during the Dodgers week, I'm not sure if we really miss him when he's gone, but I don't know that he was a problem there, giving up the 5 runs, but the final score was 10-9 in that game, and it shouldn't have been that close because beyond what Buehler gave up, Clark gave up just 1 run, which wasn't a big deal, but Kenley gave up 3.
Yes, this is an issue with Kenley Jansen. The D-backs scored 3 times versus Kenley. He pitched 1.1 innings. He had 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 of those earned runs, and he's gave up a home run, which before, I'm trying to think which series, he hadn't given up any home runs, and then he gave up a home run, and now it seems like each time he comes in to close it out, there seems to always be a home run, which he can't have because he's the closer. He closes it out. There's no balls going over the fence when you're closing the game. But something's going on with Kenley. I'm not sure what, but yeah, even with Walker only pitching 2 2/3 innings, he wasn't necessarily a bad outing. I mean, he did give up 5 runs, but it wasn't horrible. Something the Dodgers could compensate for. Now, in this game, Gavin Lux was 3 for 5. He had 3 runs, 5 RBIs, and he had 2 home runs, 1 in the second, which put the Dodgers on the board, and then the one in the 10th where he hit a 3-run home run. So that was 10-6 at that time. And then Kenley Jansen came in and
made it interesting.
And made it interesting, which in the past, we've often said, I know we talked about this before, it seemed like don't put Kenley in if you have more than 4 runs, more than 3 runs, because it seems like he's always going to give up some runs to make it interesting. We don't want it to be interesting. We're done. It's the 9th inning, or in this case, the 10th inning. We don't need you to give up any runs. We need you to close the game, seal the game. He's the sealer. He's the closer. That's right. Shut it down. And he's not. Game 2 was Kershaw Day. Another Jennings game. The Dodgers won 6-4. Kershaw did not look especially sharp on this one. 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, no home runs, but he struggled with the fastball. Mookie Betts had 2 errors on the same play. Mookie did have a home run, so maybe that helps erase his errors, but the errors are still there in the book. Kike had a home run. It was special because it was Roberto Clemente Day, and Kike being from Puerto Rico, so that was cool.
Wearing the number 21.
Yes. And in game 3, the Dodgers lost 5-2 and did not go into innings. But we had a little bit of a scare. Dustin May pitched 1 inning. He had 2 hits, no runs, no hits, or 2 hits, sorry, but no runs, no earned runs, no walks, no strikeouts. But he was hit on his left foot on a line drive. That was scary because we didn't know what happened. Did he break his foot? Was it a fracture? Luckily, they did get conclusive evidence that he did not break his foot. It was not fractured. So he should be back. He's been day to day. So that was good news for the Dodgers, because without Dustin May in that rotation, where does that leave us?
He's a bigger loss than Walker Buehler is with his blister.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes.
The loss, Will Smith went 4 for 4.
Was just going to mention that. He was 4 for 4, but everybody else, he's 1 for 3, but on a lot of guys.
Both hit home runs that night.
Yes.
Max Muncy, 3 strikeouts in that game.
Yep. Max is an issue, and he really needs to sit on the bench. He needs some time off, but he gets put in the lineup every game, and he's been the DH. He's been at first, he's been at second, been at third with JT out, and he's just not connecting at the plate, and he is frustrated. He got ejected in the 9th inning of the last of the Arizona game, game 3, with 2 outs. They ejected him. He didn't say very nice things to the umpire, so I'm sure that's why.
But he basically told the umpire to throw himself out with the bad calls that he's been making, and it was a little more colorful than that, obviously. But
yes, his motivational buzzwords.
I looked at Max Muncy's strikeouts because I see it a lot. And in a 162 game season, he's on pace for 149 strikeouts. How many did he have last year? 149. What is his career average for a 162 game season? 149. So he's right on pace.
So he should be
his
striking out.
The thing, what he's not doing is he's not hitting in between. See, last season,
which is the problem.
He only hits about 260. It's not like he's a 300 hitter. His strikeout ratio is down from when he first started. That's what led the A's to let him go. So he's become a better hitter, but he's still on target for the same amount of strikeouts. So he's not really doing anything differently. The problem is he's not coming through like he did in the past, where we would be watching and not paying attention to the fact that he had 3 strikeouts in a game because he hit 2 home runs in that game, or he hit a double and a home run. He came through at the right time. He came through in a clutch situation. So we were able to gloss over and let our recency bias about Max's production come into play, and the fact that we love Max. He's a good player. He's fun to watch. He's one of those guys. He's an underdog because we didn't expect him to do anything like he's done. He's not off his path.
I think too, that's right. And he does strike out a lot. And we mentioned this before in another episode where he was compared to Jim Thome, who is home run, walk, strikeout. That's their hit cycle. But with Max, we're seeing a lot of strikeouts, but not the home runs that we have seen previously. So I think that's what's missing. And he has, occasionally will get a single or to get on base. He's had a few walks. He looks frustrated in the batter's box. And when he does get a hit, you can see that relief on his face, like, oh, I finally did it. So something is off. He knows it's off. And yeah, you're right. Max is a favorite, and we overlook those things. But in the 60 game season, I think it's a little harder to overlook when you really need that production. And now you've got Max coming up, and you expect those clutch hits or home runs to come into play, and they're not there.
I think it's worse too because he's not the only one who's having issues.
Yes.
Cody's having issues. We'll talk about his issues in a second. So they get past the Diamondbacks, take the series 2 out of 3. And then they get a weird Friday off on the schedule. And then for the weekend, here comes the Asterix.
The Asterix were in town. The Dodger fans were in full force out on Vin Scully Avenue, there to greet the Asterix buses as they came in, banging trash cans, had some pretty cool signs. Even Joe Kelly showed up. He's serving his suspension. He even drove by and honked his horn for the Dodger faithful as
I know he went down to see his mural.
Yes, that was the other thing. There are lines of people that are getting their picture taken in front of the Joe Kelly Pouty Lip mural in LA.
Right, just off of Sunset Boulevard.
So all of that brings in the Asterix into town. Dodgers looked good, and then Kenley Jansen came in, and he gave up 5 runs in the 9th inning. And I keep saying, but you're the closer. You close the game. And Dave Roberts left him in, and it just got worse.
He faced 6 batters.
Worse.
No outs.
No outs. They just kept hitting. It was just batting practice almost. They just
5
kept
hits,
going round and round.
5 runs. Adam Kolarek comes in, inherits 2 runners. One of them score. And then, of course, the Dodgers couldn't do anything offensively. And what should have been a 5-1 win or a 5-2 win became a 7-5 loss.
Which for the Asterix was a huge deal because they had been losing. And then for them to come into Dodger Stadium and beat the Dodgers, I don't want to say it was vindication for them because they're cheaters. They always will be cheaters. But I wonder if that's kind of how they felt.
Well, they probably felt that way. The Dodgers gave it away. Kenley Jansen, They didn't overtake them and just outplay the Dodgers.
No.
Kenley Jansen, like you said, served up batting practice and gave them the way back in. And then because the Dodgers aren't hitting key times right now, they're in a slump, it feels like. The Asterix got an easy win. They felt sorry for him, I guess, because the airplane was flying with a sign over the stadium saying, Astros still this sign.
Well, and Dieter Rule and DJ Severe were on it playing different songs related to signs.
I saw the sign.
Lots of different things going on there. But yeah, that first game should have been in the bag for the Dodgers. And once again, here comes Kenley. And yeah, was the game not interesting enough? You made it so interesting that the Dodgers lost. It wasn't even interesting. It was frustrating.
Right.
And annoying.
That's the hard part. When you see that, you've got to lead. It's like all you got to do is get these outs. And then he couldn't get anything.
Yeah, nothing. It was bad.
Well, things do change on Sunday. And on part of the ESPN broadcast because for some reason the Yankees and the Red Sox weren't being replayed or
They
playing
didn't
again.
have a classic edition game.
Right. We got to see the Dodgers and the Asterix on the ESPN national game. And while the game on Saturday was also a nationally televised game on Fox, the Sunday night game probably brought in a bigger audience. That was better for the Dodgers because the Sunday game was classic Dodgers from the last couple of seasons and what we wanted to see the night before.
Yes. They redeemed themselves. They won 8-1. Kenley did get the chance. It was a bullpen game. Bazooka Gratterall. I'm not sure if that's what he likes to be called. I've also heard he likes to be called the Lion. I think it's the Lion, something like that. But anyway, Bazooka came out on the mound.
We in a previous episode found we did the SRBB reporting that he liked Bazooka.
Yes.
And if he's changing it now, then he's just going to have to wait till next season or until he's done something significant that he can start calling himself whatever. And then he can walk out to the mound with a big fake mane on and be like wrestlers, when he comes out there. And
right. Yeah.
They can play the Lion King music.
Still, yeah. Bazooka still fits him. He started the game. Like I said, it was a bullpen game. Kenley did get a chance to come in and maybe boost the confidence. He did a lot better. The Dodgers, he didn't give up any runs, got out close. He actually did close the game out. Mookie, AJ, and Chris Taylor each had home runs, and it was a good game. It was a classic Dodgers game. It's what we expect. Now, the ESPN broadcast, also what we expect. Horrible with A-Rod and Matt Viskurgen.
There was one thing that I found good, and then the rest of it was all them trying to make excuses for the Asterix and how the Asterix have paid their time. Maybe we should give them a break. No, they're just a team looking for some redemption. I don't know what else they said, but it was just all that garbage. The only thing that I really got out of that whole telecast was A-Rod was very focused on Cody Bellinger and his issues.
Yes, he did a really good job of looking and pinpointing what's going on with Cody in the batter's box.
Yes, he did. And those were things that I hate to say it, but I had seen, but didn't really identify the way that a guy who, and as much as I hate A-Fraud, he was a good hitter. What he talked about with Cody seemed really right on, too close into the box. It's one thing to try to crowd the plate, but the way that Cody's doing it, once you look at it from that different perspective, you see it it was clear. Wow, this is really affecting Cody. And you can see it in his swing and that feeling, that awkwardness that he's had all season long.
Yeah, one of the things in that game that A-Rod was talking about is when Cody's swinging, he shouldn't be at the end of the swing be looking at Dusty Baker in the opposing dugout. He should be looking at Dave Roberts. And after that, I started looking at that more and saying, oh yeah, and we've talked about Cody not being comfortable in the box. Why change your swing? Why try to retool it? Because it's not working. And I'm also curious, what's the hitting coach doing for the Dodgers?
They have a hitting coach?
I thought they did.
What I want to know is why isn't Mookie talking to him too?
Right. And I still maintain.
But maybe it's hey, I'm the MVP. I'm the reigning MVP. You used to be an MVP.
I did see there was a pitch where it was outside and it was called a strike and Cody was called out on strikes. And in the dugout afterwards, he was laughing about it in the dugout, but still you could tell it agitated him. And Mookie was, yeah, you're right, way out there.
Well, there was a point where in the dugout, I think they even pointed it out. Gavin Lux came from down in the clubhouse area from the tunnel, came up and was showing everybody with his hands, this is how far it was. He looked like he just woke up from a nap.
He probably
his little
did.
kindergarten nap time for Gavin Lux. Bring up that, and I noticed, and I heard that from A-Rod too about where his head is. And I'd been watching that across the board in every game that I'd been watching. And it made me think back to Little League. When you would swing and you turn your head completely, the coach would constantly be saying, keep your head in there. And you realize it more at this season a lot. A lot of guys across the board, great hitters, bad hitters, they're looking up into the stands to see nobody or looking into their dugout or the opposing dugout at the end of a swing. I've seen it a lot with Shohei Ohtani, constantly pulling his head out. Cody, I had noticed it before, Max, a lot.
Yeah.
And normally when you strike out swinging, you're not down at the ball. You should be constantly looking at where the ball should have been. So when you swing through, your head should still be down at where the ball would have been, or up if it's up high, but wherever the ball was, and you should be looking straight ahead. You shouldn't be looking behind you. So overall, I know it seems like a bad week because they lost twice.
Well, and they lost to the Asterix.
Okay,
Ew.
but you know what? The Asterix have at least been a good team in their division. The Diamondbacks, they lost to the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks
I know. That's even
You're gonna have
worse.
an issue. But the problem isn't that they lost the 2 games. The problem is the Padres are on a 7-game win streak as of the weekend. So that's the problem. They're allowing them to catch up to them by not winning all those games. But any other week, 2 losses out of 5 games, it's not great, but it's not bad. You still had a winning week.
That's true. I will say, though, with the lineup, I was happy to not see Gavin Lux in the lineup. He has been at second, and he had that one game in Arizona where he was 3 for 5. But then after that, it's, oh, here comes Gavin, and he's going to strike out. He has shown some discipline where he got like a 10-pitch walk in one of the games, but I really think that the Dodgers, especially Dave Roberts, is too high on Gavin Lux. He's not defensively. He's made errors, doesn't look good in the field, and offensively, he's just not there. And I keep trying to figure out why. There has to be somebody at USC at the alternate site that's hitting better, fielding better than Gavin Lux. But he is, he was the minor league baseball player of the year last year. He was the number 1 prospect. I think now he's the number 2 prospect, and he's just not doing it. And and he looks like he just woke up from a nap during the game. So, and he doesn't wear his mask right. That's the other issue I have. But my biggest issue is having him in the lineup.
He strikes out quite a bit. And so I looked just to see, I compared him and Will Smith, who both played together in the minors. Lux has played 11 games. He struck out 14 times in the 11 games. He's in Max Muncy territory, but he doesn't have the goodwill that Max has.
No.
Will Smith has played almost 3 times as many games, has only struck out 12 times. But my question for you is, because I know you don't like him, at what point do you finally embrace him? Because Andrew Friedman, the GM, is high on him. Dave Roberts is high on him. This is the player of the future. He's not a rookie of the year candidate. I see that he's got enough talent to play somewhere in Major League Baseball, but I see him playing somewhere else, not here.
All right. And with all the Dodgers, I root for all of them. I have some that are my favorites, and I have others like, oh, all right, okay, here he comes. And I guess maybe I would guess for everybody, there's always somebody on the team. And for me, it's just Gavin Lux. I just don't see it. I think he was called up too soon. He needed some more time in the minors. And I could understand it's hard. You're doing so well in the minors. You get called up, you're excited, and then you're facing a whole different set of pitchers who've been pitching for a long time. They're aces. The problem that I have with Gavin Lux is he seems so lackadaisical to me. Like he just, yeah, all right, I'm here. Like you don't ever, I'm sure he gets upset. I'm sure he's not happy with his performance, but it's a generational thing. He just seems so blasé about the whole thing. Like, yeah, all right, struck out. Okay. I know he's not happy when he strikes out, but it's just, there's no spark. He needs a fire lit under him, and there's just nothing there. And he's too worried about his hair. Yeah, I just don't have that connection that, I'd much rather see Kike or Chris Taylor out there, but they're also proven. We know what they can do, and we just haven't seen what Gavin Lux can do. On occasion, there's sparks you can see, but I just the attitude, and I just have a hard time with him.
All right, so coming up this week, I'm just going to leave that there. Coming up this week, the Dodgers have a tough week ahead of them. They've got the surging Slam Diego team, and they have to travel to Colorado, take on the Rockies. And not that the Rockies are tearing things up anymore like they had been, but it's still an NL West team that they have to get by. And this week can really set the last week of the season for them and where they end up in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. This series that they have with San Diego, it's a big one. And then, of course, with Colorado playing at home, feel comfortable at home. Dodgers play well there, but you never know how it's going to be in Colorado. And sometimes
it could be snowing.
It could be snowing. It was last week. So snowed here. Yeah. So it'll be away, both on the road. First time in Denver this season. So it'll be an interesting week for the Dodgers.
All right. Before we head on to the Angels, who were in Colorado last week, right after the snow, let's take a look at the players of the week.
So my player of the week is Will Smith. Will Smith was 8 for 15, 533 batting average. And if I calculated it right, a 1.267 OPS. He had no strikeouts. He had 2 walks. He had 5 singles, 3 doubles, no home runs, no RBIs, but he was consistent. He got on base. He let the guys behind him drive him in. Just a great performance from Will Smith. Really just come on. And I do like the Fresh Prince.
He was setting the table, as it were.
He really was.
So I went a little different direction this week with my player of the week. I went with a pitcher, one of the relievers, pitched in 3 games, 4.1 innings. So 4 1/3 innings, only gave up 2 hits, struck out 5, and he faced 15 hitters. Again, only had 2 hits out of all of that. Opponents had a 133 batting average against him. His ERA, 1.13, 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and his whip is 0.462. I'm going with the guy from Nayarit, Mexico, Victor Gonzalez, as my player of the week.
Good pick. I like Victor. He's coming out of the bullpen. He's one of those guys that is just laser focused on doing his job.
There's a couple things that the Angels and the Dodgers have in common. They're both called Los Angeles, and both of them shut out the Padres. Now, the one thing that the Angels have done that the Dodgers didn't do was sweep the Asterix 4 game.
You had to mention that.
Well, had they swept them, I couldn't have said that. But the Dodgers didn't do that. The Angels did. Now, remember I said it's like riding a roller coaster with the Angels. We come off that high of 4 straight wins on a 5-game win streak, heading to Texas. The Rangers have been a bad team all season with one bright spot every few days in Lance Lynn. But even Lance Lynn had lost his last 2 coming into the first game of the Rangers Angels series. But you get all excited because they're looking like the team that you want them to be, and then they kill you by looking like the team that they really have been. So they head into Texas. The Rangers swept them the last time they were there. And there's still 4 more games to go after this series that was in Texas, all in Anaheim. But Andrew Heaney on the mound, once again, you're expecting something. He's shown up so well the last couple of games. But the problem wasn't so much Andrew Heaney as it was that Lance Lynn came back and was Lance Lynn from earlier in the season. He threw 7 innings, only gave up 4 hits, one of those being a home run. Whereas Andrew Heaney pitched 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 home run. Part of the problem for the Angels was that they put Matt Thaiss, who he doesn't remind me of like Gavin Lux or Joe Adele with that lackadaisical. But he looks like he's trying. He just isn't that good. He's obviously better than others to be there. And normally he plays first base when they bring him in, but they put him at second base because Fletcher was still out and he couldn't play there. It was a bad move. A couple of errors.
Was it like Jock Peterson playing first base? That experiment gone wrong.
That didn't work out very well. Didn't help. Angels lose this one 7-1. One spot in all of that is Jared Walsh. He was a 2-way player, and he still may be under that. And he's pitched for the Angels last season a couple of times. They had him in at first base. He hit a home run, and that would account for the 1. Game 2 almost looked exactly like game 1. Only they scored 2 more runs that time and lost 7-3. Julio Teheran, once again, not a great outing, but not bad. Didn't give up any home runs through 4 2/3 innings. Hobie Milner came in and inherited 2 runners from Teheran. Both of them scored, so that didn't help. Matt Thaiss did have a home run in that game. There was that, and they played him in left field. That was the first time ever playing in left field. He did better. He did better in left field than he did at second base. But it was career first for him as far as where he played in the field.
Now, is he normally a first baseman? Is that that's
where they've played him. He's played third base. He had never played second base at the minors or majors levels. I don't know if you ever played it, because I played second base in Little League at one point. It wasn't where I ended up overall, but yeah, then this isn't the time to play all the players, Coach.
Let's put you here. Maybe he had Joe Madden had a dart.
It's like when I always wanted to pitch. I was never good at it, but I always wanted to pitch. And when they finally let me, it'd be like, why did I do this? This was a bad idea. Why did you listen to me, Coach? It's one thing when Mookie Betts comes to you and says, I want to play second base.
Yeah, totally different.
I don't think Matt Thaiss came and said that. I think he's willing to play anywhere because he just wants to be on the team.
Right.
All right. So game 3 comes along and I'm back to my normal Angels feeling. I haven't eaten in 2 days because I'm on the Angels diet and I can't eat unless they win.
You lost a lot of weight. So you're almost emancipated.
I know. I'm going to be the invisible man here before long. The best thing about game 3 from the outset was Dylan Bundy's pitching.
Always nice.
And he gave us another 7 innings. He went 7 1/3, only gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, struck out a season high 12 while only walking 1.
And I see Matt Thaiss was the DH.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It wasn't.
No.
But we didn't need him because we had Mike Trout hitting a home run, going 2 for 5. Anthony Rendon, 2 for 4. Andrelton Simmons, 2 for 5. But the big offensive star of the game was Jared Walsh. 2 for 4, 3 RBIs, a home run, and a triple. And this was a weird thing in this game in that the Rangers had 2 triples.
You don't see that as often, triples.
No, it was weird that 3 triples in a game.
But I've noticed, and I don't know if it's because you just don't see triples, but when somebody hits a triple, it's like, wow, they hit a triple, because you just don't see it.
No, it's where did it have to go in a corner? Did it get misplayed? Is it a true triple? Is it a error, a double with an error? So
Right.
overall, great game by the whole team. Got the victory 6-2. Feeling good because now if we can sweep the Rangers coming in here, we can split the series. Because right now the only winning series we have, we split the season series with the Mariners. We've lost every other series. Well, that's not true. So far, we've split with the Padres, but we still have 2 more with them. And we still have 3 more with the Dodgers. But the only one that we have a winning record with is against the Asterix. 6-4 this season in that 10-game set. That's the one good thing. We're not going to make it to the playoffs. So they left Texas and headed up to Colorado.
The Great White North. Oh, that's Canada. Sorry.
Well, for you, it could be the Great White North. It is north of you.
It is, and it was white the day before.
And they did have snow the day before. While they were there, it was actually looked pretty pleasant, looked nice out. Temperatures looked like they were in the 50s most of the time. They show up and have what looked like a pretty good game until the ninth. Griffin Canning came in, gave up 3 runs over 5 2/3 inning. Ty Buttrey, let's not talk about Ty Buttrey just yet. When the Angels get into the ninth, it's 4-3 going into the bottom of the ninth. They're winning. And it had been 3-3. The Angels had been up like 3-2. Then they gave up a run. It was 3-3. Then they got another one. It was 4-3. Jared Walsh, another home run, 2 for 4. Another great night for Jared Walsh. All right, so Ty Buttrey comes in, and I'm thinking we're going to go to innings because he gives up a home run, so it's tied 4-4. And then between he and Jose Quijada, the bases get loaded for Charlie Blackmon.
Chuck Nasty,
who promptly hits a walk-off grand slam. The second walk-off grand slam we've had this season. Matt Olson did it way back at the beginning of the season when we played the A's. We ended up losing a game that looked promising, 8-4. But like I said, the highlight was Jared Walsh, 2 for 4, and a home run. And up until that last inning, it actually didn't look too bad. And it looked close to the way things had been happening more often with the Angels getting a lead, kind of fighting back and forth maybe a little bit, but overcoming a tie or a deficit. It really was looking good. And then, yeah.
And then Ty Buttrey came in with his 4th blown save.
Exactly. And, well, that was the only bad thing over the weekend. Because then the next day, Jaime Barria takes the mound in game 2. David Fletcher is back in the lineup, and Barria goes 5 1/3, gives up 5 hits, 2 runs. And then our bullpen actually looked pretty good. Milner, Pena, Myers, Buttrey, Andriese, all guys who have had issues, not just all season, but even in the last week. In fact, Milner gave up that other walk-off grand slam back in the day. Everybody played well. Jared Walsh hits another home run. Had home runs 3 days in a row. And if you remember, I mentioned he had a home run in the first game of that Texas series and in the third game of that Texas series. So far, he's homered in both of the games against the Rockies in a 5-2 win. Taking us to Sunday's finale, Andrew Heaney back on the mound again. Pretty decent outing. 7 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs. So he gave up their 3 runs in a 5-3 victory. Matt Andriese came in, did okay. Jared Walsh. I don't know why I say Matt Walsh. The actor, Matt Walsh. Jared Walsh went 2 for 5. But really, does what Jared Walsh did that day make any difference? No.
No.
Because it was Albert's day.
That's it. Big, significant home run.
Yeah, number 660, tying Willie Mays for 5th on the all-time list. He, in this series, had gone past Craig Biggio to take over 5th on the doubles with 669. So it was all about Albert. He had not hit a home run since early August. So over a month with no homers. He finally comes up and hits that, ties Willie Mays. He needs one more. He'll be solely in 5th place in both home runs and doubles, and will be the only Hall of Famer to rank in both of those. He needs 123 more to catch Tris Speaker, at number 1, which I don't think is going to happen. And then 55 from Ty Cobb. Probably also not going to happen, but that's much closer.
When the Angels played in San Francisco, Willie Mays had texted Albert Pujols and told him, "It's your turn. It's your time." And maybe, I think, obviously for Albert, he was gonna tie him. He's gonna pass him. But I think there's a little bit of, when you think about who Willie Mays is, I mean, he's a giant. He's a legend. Albert Pujols is a legend in his own right, but it's Willie Mays. And do you feel a little bit bad because you want the record, you want to tie, you want to go past, but for Willie Mays to text him and say, "Hey, you know what? It's your turn. It's your time." So, and also I thought it was really cool that the Rockies in the stadium, obviously there's no one there, but on the Jumbotron, they recognized the achievement that Pujols had made.
Well, I watched them when they went and got the ball for 660. The guy took it out there, made sure he had the right ball. They were authenticating it. They put it in a ball holder.
Right.
It was easy to see all that stuff because it's all going on out in the open. It's not like normal where a fan would have got it. They'd have had to go over and beat it out of them so that they could get the ball away from them and, take a club to the head and tase them. So I what makes me wonder, and I know this is not fair, but I wonder if Alex Rodriguez would do the same thing. If this had been Albert at 695, waiting to go to 696, would he say, "Hey, I'm happy to share this with you," or be like Willie Mays? Willie Mays showed something that's old school.
Right.
And my feeling is A-Rod would probably on the outside say something like, but he'd go home and cry to J-Lo that he doesn't have his record anymore.
That's what I was thinking.
Or,
on air, he would say, "Oh, this is great," but off air, not so great.
But I wonder if he'd say that and then say something offhand to try to deflect or to take Pujols down, or whoever would be chasing him. Whoever's next that might actually get there. Fernando Tatis, right. Mike Trout. These guys, if he'd say something to denigrate but I did it with a whole year off.
Right.
After a whole year off.
Right.
All right. I'll stop picking on A-Fraud for now. But that's the next thing for Albert Pujols. 697, Albert. No telling how this week's going to go for the Angels. They play the Diamondbacks, and then they play the Rangers in what you'd call a wraparound series because it's 4 games, but it's a Friday through Monday. So they have that. They haven't played the Diamondbacks yet this season. This will be the only time they see them for 3 games. And then we'll see what happens with the Rangers, who they've had issues with. They're only winning 1 of 5 so far, or 1 of 6.
But the games are at home, and so hopefully
Mike Trout's going to bat 1,000.
Right.
He always hits well at home, but he's been picking it up. He's been hitting better on the road. He did better in Texas and Colorado than he has previously. Still at home, he does hit like 1,000.
So you get to eat, I hope, this week.
Well, I did. I got to eat over the weekend, which was kind of cool. All right, so let's take a look at this week's Player of the Week. For me, I think it was pretty easy. I picked the kid who came out of the University of Georgia, 39th round pick in the 2015 draft, Jared Walsh. Not to be confused with Matt Walsh. 5 games, 9 for 22 with a .409 batting average over the week. 6 runs scored, hit 4 home runs, drove in 9 RBIs. So Jared Walsh, he could be a solid first baseman and a great hitter.
Well, Jared Walsh is the unanimous pick for the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Player of the Week because that's who I picked.
Oh, yeah. Was there one particular thing that drove you to?
He was consistent throughout the games. He usually had, I think, He had at least one hit in every game, if not more. Of course, the 4 home runs, the 9 RBIs, just something that the Angels needed somebody else stepping up, not just David Fletcher, who is great, but those other
he's been out up until the second game of the Colorado series. So
right. So yeah, just looking through the games, looking through the box scores, Jared Walsh was the obvious pick for Player of the Week.
All right, it's time to take a look around the league. And as usual, we'll start in the East. I think that this week, when we look around the league, though, not just specifically to the East, but I think everybody was excited about that football was starting because we saw a lot of big double-digit scores, runs-wise. And the biggest came out of the East in the Atlanta-Miami game.
29-9. The Braves shellacked the Marlins.
You've been wanting to use that word for a long time, haven't you? Shellacked.
I have. I've had it on my list of words to use, and I haven't been able to use it. They shellacked them. The Braves set a National League record for runs scored in a game. Freddie Freeman got his 1,500 hit, and Marlins Twitter was on fire.
What I liked about that was was it MLB that asked him, "Are you okay?"
Yes.
They're like, "No." And then because there was another team, the Tigers got beat pretty soundly. We'll talk about that in a second. They went, "We know how you feel."
Yes.
It's kind of fun when you see that. It's like when Wendy's, is great on their social media when the teams kind of go back and forth at one another, whether it be just fun, good-natured ribbing or really trolling each other. That's pretty good stuff. Yeah, it was that's pretty incredible when you look at the box score for that 29-9 game. You talk about Freddie Freeman, 3 hits, 6 RBIs that game. Home runs, there was a ton of them.
When you look at the box score, normally, for home runs, depending, it might be one name, and then it'll tell you, the count, how many were out, who it was against. This one is like a paragraph for home runs for the Braves.
I have a book I'm reading right now. That's like 500 and some odd pages. I finished the book before I got through the box score. And when you think about it, the Marlins scored 9 runs. That's not bad. It's just 22 few.
Yeah, it was bad. Oh, and also Marlins Twitter, I think at one point their catcher was put into left field, and their response was, "Our catcher is now in left field because, you want a catcher that knows how to catch."
You want somebody that can catch, right?
That's right.
Funny. I was looking at the pitchers lines in that, and really, if not for Tommy Milone from the Braves, the starter that day, giving up 8 earned runs, who
and
knows
2 home runs.
All the damage was done with him. It wasn't until Bryce Wilson, the closer, came in, got the save. He gave up another run. But when you look at the Marlins pitching, Jordan Yamamoto got thumped, gave up 13 runs, and he took over for Pablo Lopez, who had given up 7. It was an ugly game there, unless you're a Braves fan or a Twitter fan, because then some kind of funny stuff came out of Twitter with Marlins Twitter.
All right.
Are you okay? No, not okay.
Our series that came up in the East, in the AL East, that I thought really, and I guess it kind of has, but I thought really was going to cement where these teams would land, and that was the Yankees and the Orioles. The Orioles got swept.
Yep. Which goes to show that the Yankees are a stronger team. They're just dealing with, especially the injury is what they're really dealing with. Not to say they wouldn't have gone on a losing streak at some point, but yeah. And the Orioles, though, I think are showing that they're going to definitely start causing some problems in the future.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought with this series, the Orioles had an opportunity to move up in the standings, be possibly be a wild card. They could have and looking at their games, in the future, they don't play the Yankees again, but will they be able to continue? They play Atlanta and Tampa Bay. So
That's one reason
really.
I was trying to find a way to see if I could keep the Yankees out of it, because the Rays and the Blue Jays are really 1-2 right now. And the Yankees would be the third team out of the East. And I wanted to see, was there a way for the Orioles to maybe overcome them? If they have to play great and the Yankees have to play poorly, it could happen. Not likely. Not with just 2 weeks to go.
No. And in Buffalo, Bo Bichette is back. So that's another big one for the Blue Jays that will help them going into the playoffs.
I think the other thing that's going on with the Yankees is that their pitching should be better. Garrett Cole has been decent, but I don't think he's been $325 million worth of decent.
No, he's not lights out.
Fraction thereof. No, and I was looking, I saw an interesting thing. Max Fried of the Braves has not allowed a home run this season. Garrett Cole has allowed 13. Which puts him on pace over a regular season to give up 35 home runs, which would be the most he ever gave up. If we go back to the Angels for just a second, Andrew Heaney, for the problems that he's had, he's only given up 3 home runs this season. He and Zach Greinke, only 3 home runs this season.
Wow. I think that's really saying something, especially with Garrett Cole coming in with the contract that he has, being a Yankee, lifelong dream of his, and just not pitching as well as, not bad, but not the level that we all expected.
No, not at all. Let's go real quick to the NL East again. The Phillies having some issues, but it looks like maybe because they've been playing well, they're into the playoff mix. Rhys Hoskins, who's one of their solid, in the last couple of weeks, he's gone on a tear. 7 of his 10 home runs have come over the last 2 weeks. He has issues with his UCL and may be out for 10 games. He may be out for the rest of the season. No telling about that yet. Good news for JT Realmuto, who had a hip flexor injury. He's day-to-day, so he's not going on the IL. That'll help them. And then Zach Wheeler's due back maybe this week or this coming week, but definitely before the end of the season and might be ready to throw in the playoffs. So that helps the Phillies. Now, we were talking about blowouts, and for the other blowout of the week, we're going to go to the Central, what we were calling the K division. I've renamed again. Sorry, I forgot to tell you this. I don't know if you got the memo, but we've renamed it the Bieber division.
Okay.
And why? Well, I mean, he leads baseball, all of baseball, with a 3 WAR and 102 strikeouts, faster than anybody else. But his run-of-the-mill stats aside, the Brewers got something that they desperately needed when they took on the Tigers.
A 19-0 win.
Yep, that's what it was. 19-0. You're kidding me? It was a 2-hit shutout by the Brewers. The Brewers had 21 hits, 5 home runs. Tyrone Taylor went 4 for 5. Arcia from the Brewers went 4 for 6.
Corbin Burns, he was flirting with perfection there, and he struck out 11 while retiring 21 of the 22 hitters he faced. And the Brewers set a franchise record with 13 extra base hits.
But something else happened in Milwaukee that was pretty significant. But this time, it wasn't the Brewers, it was the Cubs.
Yeah, it seems Chicago is the no-hit capital of the world now. The White Sox, Lucas Giolito, had the first one. The second one of the season goes to some guy named Alec Mills, who was a walk-on at the University of Tennessee Martin. Didn't even get recruited out of high school.
No, he's just walking by the field and said, hey, I think I can pitch.
Sunday, he joined Jake Arrieta, Carlos Zambrano, Ken Holtzman, and a few others on the Chicago's no-hitter list as he blanked the Brewers 12-0.
And in this one, David Ross is the 11th person in Major League Baseball to have caught a no-hitter and manage a no-hitter.
Really?
The no-hitter he caught was with Jake Arrieta.
Yeah. That's crazy. I never thought about those terms, but that's something. Only 11 managers have ever caught and managed.
Yeah, and
Although maybe that's a bigger number than I think when it comes to the numbers of how many catchers have been managers.
That's true. Yeah. And he said when he was a catcher, he just felt like he was going along for the ride. As a manager, it was more stressful because he was watching the pitcher, what's going on, do I need to take him out?
As the catcher, you have maybe a little more control because you're throwing down some signs. And
right.
When you're standing in the dugout, all you can do is and try not to overmanage the situation.
Right, exactly. I think, and
try
that's
not
why
to Doc Roberts it.
Yeah. Yes.
And while we're talking about no hitters in Chicago, let's talk about somebody who's having a problem this season and is complaining about it. Javi Baez.
Javi Baez recently complained about not being able to watch his at-bats in the dugout.
No in-game video.
No.
He said, and I quote, "To be honest, it sucks." Because he's very eloquent.
Yeah, he is. He's one of the more eloquent players of the game. He's hitting 203. He has 6 home runs. He has a 601 OPS. Not stellar, not where I guess he wants to be. But we've talked about this before, and we look at somebody like Chris Taylor, who plays for the Dodgers, who also was a big guy that would watch in-game, video of his swings, of his at-bats. And this year, he's hitting 280. He's got an 834 OPS with 5 home runs. He doesn't play every day, but he says, you know what? It's better for him because now he's just getting in the batter's box and he's just going with it. It's not the playback isn't affecting him, because before he said he would watch it and then he was trying to correct everything while he's in the batter's box. I think Javi Baez is just being a crybaby.
He says, "I'm really mad that we don't have it because, to be honest, with all due respect, we didn't cheat." Right, but you might. And remember that one person, I always remember this. The senior class before mine went crazy on their senior trip, and thus my class didn't have a senior trip. So one person or one thing or one team can ruin it for everybody.
It can. It
and
only
so
takes
that's
one.
kind of been it. And maybe if he hadn't, I think the thing is that nothing's turned around for him. It's easy on Chris Taylor's side because it's worked for him.
True.
He's not doing it, it's doing it. But Javi Baez has struck out 62 times, which leads the National League. He's got 150 outs, which leads Major League Baseball. No wonder he's crying about this.
Well, Christian Yelich, 199 batting average, 762 OPS, and I haven't heard anything from Yelly.
No, he's been trying to work out and figure out what's going on. I've seen video of him in the cage, hitting off a tee, working through his stance, anything he can. So, for a lot of these guys, I think at the end of this season, the guys who were the Yeliches who can do that and other players who didn't have a great season are going to go, I have to get past this. That was just 2020.
Right. And 2020, when you look at it, I think in the long run, it's really a blip of a season because you're only playing 60 games. You can figure it out. You've got time. You've got spring training. You've got, and then you've got 162 games. So.
Right. All at once, not a break of how many months, 3 months or whatever, and then come back and try to get everything back and going. And no matter how much you work at home, nothing live pitching can't be duplicated off of a tee or in a batting cage with a machine.
Now, I do want to mention Nelson Cruz. We've talked about him before, but he continues just to have a good season. He's 331 batting average, 16 home runs, 1.089 OPS, 40 years old, just playing, having a good time, and looking good for the Twins, which when we look at the Central, we talk about them all the time, but it's the White Sox, the Twins, and the Indians, and they're just playing Frogger. That's how I look at it. They're just leapfrogging over each other.
I think that the Twins and the White Sox are starting to pull away a little bit because they have a more complete set. They have offense. They have pitching that is solid across. White Sox are going to have some issues. Dallas Keuchel out, but Giolito's been there for them. You go to the Twins, Quinta's been pitching well. So overall, they have better pitching, whereas the Indians are kind of a one-trick pony right now with just pitching. And you can only throw Bieber once every so many days. They have other players that can do that. So in this first short series, I'm pretty sure the Indians will take out whoever they play, with the exception of maybe the Twins or the White Sox, only because those guys have seen them enough to know what to expect.
And this week, it'll be interesting because the White Sox and the Twins start a series. So that'll be a one to watch.
All right, let's take a look at the West. Not a lot to talk about since we kind of covered a lot of the teams either playing the Dodgers or the Angels. They played them last week, or they're playing them in the coming week. A couple of notes in the Bay. The Giants said goodbye to the Panda.
They did. They said goodbye to the Panda. He said his heart will always be in San Francisco, but he landed in Atlanta.
Yes, he did.
Good for the Panda. He's a fun guy, and I don't think anybody will ever forget, especially Chris Taylor, being almost squashed by the Panda.
Yeah, he had a tough season. They DH'd him a lot, which didn't make any sense. He played first a bit. He did play third a couple of times. He only hit .220. He had one home run, and I remember that home run because he hit it against the Angels, and 6 RBIs. He has a negative WAR. So maybe in Atlanta, though, they're hoping that they can use him to fill in maybe at first, or when Freddie's out, or they can DH Freddie because Freddie can hit. And Pablo's not been doing well, but maybe just the change of scenery will help him to finish out the season. So that's a nice pickup for them.
When I think about it, because his nickname is the Panda, and we think about the pandas you don't see a lot of them. So it's like he's going from one zoo to another. That's what I thought about. So he's going from San Francisco to more humid climes of Atlanta.
And then the A's also got hit, which is bad for them because they're definitely going to the playoffs. But now they're going to be without their all-star third baseman, Matt Chapman, who only batting .232 on the season, but he had 10 home runs, 25 RBIs, and a 1.1 WAR. He is solid at third base. Hit it to third. When you're playing the A's, base hits go to die over there. Unfortunately, will be out for the rest of the season. Don't know how that's going to affect the A's in the long run. It could change some things coming up in this last week of the season. The A's are playing the Giants. They do play the Dodgers. Will his absence make a difference in those series?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. He's having hip surgery, so he will be out for the rest of the season. Not sure how long it will take him to get healthy for next season, but a big blow definitely for the A's. Another thing that happened in the West that we thought was over was COVID. We had San Diego and San Francisco, and their games were postponed because of a positive COVID test. And then we learned that it was a false positive because the player who had tested positive, which was Alex Dickerson, he then tested negative in like the next few times that he tested. And he was really upset about the whole situation. His wife is 39 weeks pregnant, so she's ready to give birth anytime now. And he said, I was so careful. I, did everything right. And then it came out that he had tested positive. And then there were just people that were, being nasty out there because they have nothing better to do.
The hate was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
Directed at him. And then
So-
turns out not to be anything.
Right, which is good. So the games that the Giants and the Padres played were postponed, and then they were able to play. I think they played a
They were
doubleheader.
able to play on Sunday, a doubleheader on Sunday. They still have they still meet again, so they'll be able to make up the other lost game of the two that they lost.
Well, I was going to mention Nolan Arenado was out of the lineup on Sunday. Looks like he's day to day. I don't know how much of that's really going to affect the Rockies. They're not in playoff contention, but it does affect them because
he hasn't really been contributing offensively this season as he normally does.
Right. So that'd be interesting. You look at guys like Nolan Arenado, Christian Yelich, Javi Baez, the guys that normally offensively are on top of their game, and they're not. So what we chalk it up to as Javi not being able to watch his bats or in the dugout, or is it just crazy 2020 season?
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, will the playoff picture come into focus, or is it still blurry?
Hey, if I squint really hard, I think I can see Josh Fields.
You're out!